Kim Possible has gotta be one of the most beloved Disney Channel cartoons of the early 2000s. With 4 seasons, 2 animated movies, and a crossover special, it's no secret that the show snuck its way into the hearts of viewers around the world. And today, we're gonna cover the series from beginning to end. Here we go.
Kim Possible. Call me Big Man if you wanna reach me. When you wanna page me, it's okay. Whenever you need me, baby.
To start off, let's get the basics out of the way. The show stars Kim, a high school student who just so happens to also be a crime fighter in her spare time. However, she can't fight the forces of evil on her own, and so has her good friend Ron Stoppable as her sidekick. Ron has a little sidekick of his own too, that being Rufus, the naked mole rat. As well as that, Kim has her guy in the chair in Wade, a genius 10-year-old who's in charge of all tech-related issues for Kim. Whether she needs an invention, intel, or someone to hack a bad guy's machine, Wade's the man for the job. But every hero has gotta have villains, and Kim's got 2 major archenemies, the mad scientist Dr. Draken and his partner in crime, Shigo, a girl with the power to harness and weaponize energy. But Kim's life isn't all about being a hero. She's still a high school student and has to constantly juggle both sides of her life, which, believe me, you'll see is no easy task. But that's just the gist of the show out of the way. So now, let's start our recap with the first episode, titled Crush. Can you guess what this one's about? Our first episode gives us a great rundown of the basics of the show, and also just a fun episode to boot. We see Kim fawning over her crush, Josh Mankey, before getting called by Wade about an emergency situation in Tokyo that's been submitted to her website. Turns out Dr. Draken is involved and is taking over a factory, so there's no time to waste. The team reaches the factory, and Kim hands Dan the Kim-municator, assigning him the role of the distraction.
What's up? Naked Mole Rat TV is on the air.
Things seem alright at first, with Kim saving some workers who've been taken hostage, but it quickly collapses when Ron is caught, leaving time for an easy escape for Shigo and Dr. Draken, who also steal the factory's machines. Interesting. The next morning, Kim's father reads the newspaper and hears of Kim's heroism, and tells her, nice work, despite Kim not being entirely satisfied. However, this scene also lets us know 2 things. 1. Kim has very supportive parents. That's awesome. 2. Kim doesn't have a secret identity or anything like that, which, if you know anything about superheroes, means things can get real messy real quick. Anywho, the rest of Kim's family comes in as well, with Kim's mom giving her advice on how to ask Josh, her crush, remember, to a school dance. Kim's brothers, Jim and Tim, are little troublemakers, just in case you were wondering. At school, Kim does try to ask Josh out, but her high school rival, Bonnie Rockwaller, destroys her confidence, and so she decides to ask him after cheerleading practice, which she messes up during, even tearing a banner Josh was working on. She's called back to action after Wade finds Dr. Draken's secret lair. Rufus accidentally trips the security system, and are taken back to the lair, where they discover Draken used the factory machines to make a giant robot.
The ultimate robot warrior!
Konnichiwa.
His goal is to take over the world, of course. Just as Kim is about to be blasted to bits, Wade hacks the robot and saves the day. All seems well until Shigo blasts in and fights Kim. Thankfully, the robot, malfunctioning at this point, knocks the villains into submission, and the world is saved. Oh, and Kim asks Josh out, and he says yes.
I need a ride too. You could swing by around 7:15. Actually, my mom's gonna be hanging my pants, so maybe like 7:30.
So, yeah, pretty solid day for Kim, I'd say. In the episode The New Ron gets a haircut that he eventually comes around to. He's not a big fan at first, to say the least. When Ron gets a cowlick, though, he wants to head back to Kim's stylist friend over in France to buy some hair gel, and so they do just that. A tad drastic, but, I can kinda resonate. The stylist recommends Ron get a new style alongside the hair gel too, but just as they head out to get new threads, all of Europe goes through a blackout. They find some sort of island with the lights still on and meet the inhabitants. Senior and his son, Senior Jr., who seem to be very, very rich.
Your haircut. It is very nice.
I use Lagoon.
As do I. But your clothes, they do not harmonize.
I know. I'm all over it, dude.
and don't realize their massive house is draining the power grid. Ron starts saying their home reminds him a lot of villain lairs, and inadvertently convinces the billionaire to become a supervillain. Meanwhile, a few days later, Ron's hair and new style has gone straight to his head, and he's acting like an entirely different, extra snobby person. He even ditches Rufus. How dare he? Wade contacts Kim and says the power has gone out in Europe again thanks to Senior, and I'll just call him Junior because that name is so long. But this time, it's on purpose. While fighting, Ron and Junior both get distracted by their hair over the missiles that are about to launch, and eventually Ron realizes how stupid he's being. Thank goodness. He ditches the comb he was fighting for and instead just focuses on the missiles that he should have been focusing on the whole time, learning once and for all that when it comes to choosing between vanity and saving the world, you really shouldn't have that much of a debate. The senior duo escape, but Ron returns home and realizes that with his old hair back, that things are gonna return to normal, but that's okay. Also, wow, this girl is a jerk to Ron.
It's me. It's Ron. What? So I ditched the do. It's what's inside that matters, right? Right?
Like, who told you that, loser?
In the episode titled Number 1, Kim is forced to team up with another agent, Will Do, in order to save a kidnapped weapons expert. The guy who kidnapped the expert is a Scottish stereotype-looking fella named Duff Killigan, who has a big thing for golf. I mean, I guess we all have our hobbies. To make a 23-minute long story short, Kim, Will, and Ron put an end to his evil weapons plans, and for some reason, it's thanks to dandelions. Don't question it.
Ooh, ooh.
Oh, no.
The next episode in the timeline is Attack of the Killer BBs, and it's got a lot of interesting details. Ron decides to join the cheerleading team for an extracurricular activity. Kim's dad is shown to be a rocket scientist, and these robot things attack a scientist. Ron decides that instead of being a cheerleader, he wants to be a mascot, but the cheerleading squad feels that all he'll do is embarrass the school. Kim talks it over with her dad, and he reveals that he had a group of scientist friends back in the day, complete with their own little embarrassing friend. On the night of a dance, it was Drew's job to get the rest of the scientists dates, and he showed up with a bunch of robotic girls all named BB. They malfunctioned, leading to the gang to laugh at Drew until he dropped out of college altogether. To this day, Mr. Possible feels bad about ruining Drew's dream and wants to make sure Ron doesn't fall down the same path. But Kim feels Ron's idea is just too dumb. Kim gets an alert from Professor Raimish, one of her dad's friends, saying that he needs help. She arrives to see that robot girls, coincidentally named BB, are kidnapping him. And of course, Ron accidentally lets them get away because of course he does. Ron later figures out Kim's dad is the next target for the BBs and decides to disguise himself as Mr. Possible. Without Kim's knowledge, of course, as he's mad that she doesn't like his mascot idea. He gets abducted and brought right back to Dr. Draken's lab, who seems to have been behind the whole thing. Kim and her dad show up to burst the captives out, but Dr. Possible recognizes Dr. Draken as his old friend from his story, Drew. Draken wanted to prove his BB concept could work to his old friends, but unfortunately, just as he was doing so, the BBs turned on Draken. He really isn't that great of a mad scientist, is he? Thanks to a little bit of sciencey help from her dad, Kim takes out the robots and frees the scientists, and takes down Draken for the heck of it too. Oh, and to cap everything off, Ron and Kim make up, and Ron gets to do his mascot routine, which the school apparently actually likes? High school is weird.
They like him? Yeah, kinda surprises me too.
A few episodes later, while Kim is on a mission to help an explorer find an artifact to put in a museum, we find out that Ron has a hardcore fear of monkeys. See, apparently, when he was younger, Ron had to go to summer camp called Camp Wanna-Weep, where he bunked with the camp mascot, who just so happened to be an out-of-control monkey. See, I can't really blame Ron though, monkeys really can be scary. Anyways, the explorer, named Lord Monty Fisk, is looking for a jade monkey statue, and briefly brings up that some of the locals of the forest they're searching believe, if placed alongside other statues, that it'll create some weird monkey power. But he dismisses it as nonsense. Kim finds the monkey, and all seems to be going well. That is, until a ninja shows up to the team's camp at night and steals the monkey, leading to Kim heading home a bit disappointed. Meanwhile, Lord Monty Fisk is shown to have monkey-like attributes, and it's revealed that he secretly disguised himself as that ninja to throw Kim off his trail from his real plan. Now that she got the last jade monkey he needed, he can start the process of gaining his monkey powers. Kim and Ron go back to the Lord Fisk to see if there's been an update on finding the statue, but Fisk thinks they've caught on to his plan and decides to whip out the classic evil monologue on them to their utter surprise. He shows Kim and Ron the surgically implanted monkey hands and feet he's received, and then begins the ritual to gain his powers, and becomes the villain Monkey Fist. Sounds a lot like Monty Fisk, huh? Ron stops Monkey Fist and breaks his jade statues, making him lose his power, leading to yet another day being saved. And even a fear being partially overcome, so that's pretty neat, I'd say. I mean, monkeys are still really scary though. The next episode introduces a new villain for Dr. Draken. Professor Dementor, Draken's rival, steals a pan-dimensional vortex inducer that he himself was going after. If that wasn't bad enough, Dementor's henchmen completely outclass Draken's. Sending his confidence into a downward spiral. Shigo decides to go steal some henchman gadgets from Jack Hench, who runs a henchman factory, and Kim is alerted of it by Wade, having them sent to Henchco headquarters. This show is something else, but I love it. Kim gets a bad vibe from the place and investigates, beats up some henchmen, and then is introduced properly to Jack Hench, who requires Kim's help. He shows her a ring that makes henchmen buff. And says Shigo stole a whole batch of the rings. Ron takes the last one for himself, and of course, puts it on. Meanwhile, Draken and his now buff henchmen plan on stealing the pan-dimensional vortex from Professor Dementor in Las Vegas and arrive at a hotel where the guy is just in a pool, chilling. Kim arrives on the scene and sneaks in alongside Draken, who also had to sneak in due to not being a hotel patron. Dementor saw him coming though, and soaked Draken for his troubles. Everyone ends up fighting in the hotel lobby to get their hands on the vortex inducer, but eventually, Draken ends up activating it by accident.
Get out of here!
Did I mention that vortex will be the size of the state of
Nevada! Oh, we're in Nevada! How ironic!
And everyone has to try and fetch it before it destroys all of Nevada. Ron tries to get it, but gets stuck and realizes he has to lose his muscles to save the day, which he reluctantly does. Also, Buff Rufus is now a thing that exists. This next episode may be one of the weirdest season finales I've ever seen for any show. In Low Budget, a spat with an alligator has Kim accidentally ruin her favorite pair of jeans.
Sorry, Kim. The pants are DOA.
They were brand new Club Banana!
Ron and Kim go to Smarty Mart to pick up cheap pants, but Kim isn't a fan, preferring more high-fashion clothes.
That'll be $5.99.
10 times less than you'd pay for the same pants at Club Banana.
So not the same.
You're such a retail snob.
The pair head off to the mall to get pants from Club Banana, great name, and run into Bonnie Rockwaller, who of course rags on Kim's, well, rags. Out of the blue, a clerk from Smarty Mart named Frugal Lucre reveals his evil plan to destroy the internet unless everyone in the world sends him $1. To make matters worse, it seems Wade can't even contact Kim due to this guy's technological terror. And to make matters even more worse, Kim can't buy a new pair of pants because the registers are down. Well, now they've got to do something. Oh, also, Smarty Mart and Club Banana are run by the same company, so that's cool. The gang then realizes finding the Smarty Mart guy isn't gonna be easy with so many Smarty Marts around the country, and so they get to work. First removing what seems to be a fake beard and mustache to see what this Frugal Lucre really looks like. Kim tries to access the Smarty Mart databases to see where this weirdo works, but is caught. Thankfully, she writes it off as trying to get a job and gets the info she needs. She finds he works for a store in Philadelphia and heads over to his mom's house where he lives in the basement. Of course he does. Proclaiming himself a bargain bin villain, Frugal Lucre catches Kim and Ron.
Ma! I'm with my friends!
Sorry, Francis. Could I get anyone some chips or pretzels?
No, thank you, Mrs. Lerman.
and monologues about his evil plan to crash the internet for good, with a simple barcode for a can of sausage. Don't ask how that works, I don't get it myself. After Luker's doomsday can of sausages is let out into the wild, Ron grabs any can he can see, and Kim takes down Luker himself. The day is saved, and the prices at Smarty Mart are still mind-boggling. In the episode 2 to Tutor, we see a villain team-up I never would have thought of. Senior Junior teams up with Shigo, as he's in desperate need of a tutor to improve his villainy. Junior eventually gets pretty good at robberies, but his father gets a bit jealous now that his son is better than him at being a villain. Kim and Ron are alerted of Junior and Shigo's next target by Senior, who fails at leaving an anonymous tip in pretty spectacular fashion.
Two thieves will be attempting to steal your chocolate chip recipe.
Father, what are you doing in the dark?
Junior, no! The lights!
Kim and Ron stake out to protect the chocolate chip recipe. Really, of all the things to steal, why did they choose that? Regardless, Junior and Shigo are caught.
This is a very strange secret recipe.
What?
You are so busted. Shouldn't there be some mention of flour or eggs?
Let me see that.
The evil duo is stopped and sent to jail, and the chocolate chip recipe is saved. In another later episode titled Job Unfair, Dr. Draken returns, this time stealing a giant weather machine. Don't know how those are made, but whatever. Draken takes the thing for a test drive and sucks up an entire lake to convert into a storm later, all in hopes to take over Canada of all places. I mean, hey, it's nice up there, I can't blame him.
Why Canada anyway?
High literacy rate, good health care, and sparkling clean cities.
Since when do you
All of which will be my evil kingdom.
Draken and Shigo are still getting a hang of the machine though, thank goodness. Ron and Kim go to investigate the dealership where Draken stole the weather machine, and arrive just in time to hear the place being broken into again. Kim is taken down by Shigo, who's stealing the owner's manual, and Ron lets her get away, because of course he does.
I got her, KP!
At one of their favorite restaurants, Bueno Nacho, Kim and Ron are shown what Draken's doing to Canada's Great Lakes and instantly get on the case, heading to the last lake he hasn't hit yet. The two are caught and tied to a lightning rod just as Draken starts up a storm. Kim gets on top of the machine, fights Shigo. Ron stops Draken and makes up for his earlier blunder, and the machine is turned off before the storm gets too crazy. Also, eagle-eyed viewers will notice that the weather machine from the last episode is also present in the episode Day of the Snowman, where a surprise blizzard strikes Kim's hometown of Middleton. Mutant snowmen start to attack, but thankfully Kim puts them away, melting them and then using the weather machine to drop all the toxic snowman sludge into Camp Wannaweep, the same camp Ron went to as a child. Another little Easter egg there. Pretty neat, if I do say so myself. Next up, we've got the first Kim Possible movie, titled A Sitch in Time. And well, it's a time travel story, so prepare yourself for an extra complicated story here. To start off, Ron's moving. Yeah, not good. To make things worse, Ron's moving all the way to Norway. So the question is, how will he help Kim with crime fighting now? Ron officially leaves town, and all hope seems lost.
You miss him a lot, huh?
We've been tight for so long.
How can you miss him? He calls every 5 minutes. Right on schedule.
How's the flight, Ron?
9 hours to Norway. Ow!
Kim's alerted of a robbery by Wade and heads over, with Ron promising to be there and keep up his crime-fighting tendencies with Kim. Kim arrives to find Monkey Fist trying to steal some artifacts at a museum. She takes him down, but doesn't realize he's being aided by Duff Killigan, Shigo, and Draken all at the same time. The slew of villains take the monkey artifact and leave with Kim trapped in a sarcophagus. Ron shows up about 12 hours late. The museum curator tells the duo that the monkey artifact was only half of a full monkey idol, and if the two pieces are put together, evil could be unleashed. Meanwhile, Kim decides to try out another partner to take Ron's role while he's gone, turning to her friend Monique, but things don't quite work out. The villains get their hands on the other half of the idol and return to a monkey temple to fuse the parts and unleash the power, where Kim arrives just before the ritual begins. Unfortunately, Monkey Fist puts the pieces together, and the villains step through a time portal, as hinted at by Draken, because, you know, he loves to explain evil plans.
So long, Kim Possible. We'll meet again in time.
A few days later, after losing their last battle, Kim is approached by Rufus's descendant from the future, Rufus 3000. She's shown an alternate future, where it looks like Dr. Draken has taken over the world, leading to Rufus 3000 having to come around and try to set things straight for Kim, giving her a time-traveling watch. Oh, and apparently, Draken, or whoever is taken over in the future, is known as the Supreme One. Meanwhile, the villains are shown to have come up with their plan: go undercover as toddlers to stop Kim from crime fighting, all the way back on her first day of preschool. Meanwhile, present-day Ron is going through a book of memories, and we get a little reference back to when he first became a school mascot as an Easter egg for eagle-eyed fans. But when he gets to the page of him and Kim back in pre-K on the day they met, the picture seems